for Falkirk Council. And the councillor, any apologies?
None officially, convener.
Okay, there's no apologies. Any declarations of interest? Yes, Councillor Kerr.
Just to make the committee aware that where the present site is, where the applicant is, I work in that area. I don't think it's a conflict of interest, but just to make people aware, I work in the Syngenta site.
I wouldn't think it was a conflict, but we'll double check with our legal advisor, Ian.
Thank you, convener. I don't think it's unusual for members to live in relative proximity or work in proximity to an application site, so I wouldn't perceive that to be a conflict of interest. Thank you, convener.
Okay, thanks for that. Happy with that, Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, happy with that, convener. Thank you, Ian.
Right. Before we bring in Ian to outline the procedures of the phase, there's obviously a number of new faces, strange faces for this particular committee, and so I'll ask everyone to identify themselves. Just so that we have a rough idea who's here and who's not in terms of particularly those working on behalf of the applicant. My name is David Alexander. I'm the chairman of the Planning Committee of Falkirk Council. And can we go through alphabetical order? Probably the easiest way. Councillor Provost Buchanan, still not here.
Yes, I'm Provost Buchanan, member of the Planning Committee. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Blackwood, member of Planning Committee.
Councillor Goldie.
Yes, I'm here, convener. Thanks. But David, we can't see you. It might be helpful if we could see you as well.
I thought it was here the day that was said. Yeah, I got it. Better. Okay. Councillor Hughes.
Yes, I'm here. I'm present, convener. I'm the councillor for Upper Braes and a member of the Planning Committee.
Okay, Councillor Kerr.
Here, convener.
Councillor McHugh.
Yep, Councillor McHugh, member of the Planning Committee and councillor for Ward 8, Lower Braes.
Councillor McCluskey.
I'm here, convener, a member of the Planning Committee and member for the Upper Braes.
Okay, and Councillor Nimmo.
Yep, thanks, David. Councillor Alan Nimmo, elected member for Lower Braes, Ward 8, and a member of the Planning Committee. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Nicholl.
You're on mute, Malcolm. You're on mute.
mute.
Sorry about that. I'm here, David, and the same as Councillor Nimmo and Councillor McHugh, I'm a member for Lower Braes.
Councillor Bowes, I think you've been missed off the list.
Yeah, Councillor Gary Bowes, Councillor for Caskinard and Trist, a member of the Planning Committee.
Okay, thanks very much for that. The officers who are present from Falkirk Council as a statutory
Convener, Councillor Murtagh.
Oh yeah, I thought Councillor Murtagh wasn't here.
Convener, so Councillor Murtagh, member of the Planning Committee, and as Councillor Bowes, also the member for Caskinard and Trist.
Okay, the apologies for missing you. You're only on the list has been here, Laura. The can I ask the officers, starting with Kevin Collins?
Thank you, convener. I'm Kevin Collins, representing the Council's Transport Planning Unit.
The Catherine Devine.
Hi, it's Catherine Devlin. I'm from the development plan team in Planning and Environment Services.
Apologies for getting that wrong. Anyway, Pete Reid.
Hello, I'm Pete Reid. I'm the Acting Head of Economic Development, representing Economic Development.
David Gray.
Hello, I'm David Gray. I'm Environmental Protection Coordinator, representing Environmental Protection.
Russell Steedman.
Russell Steedman, Roads Network Coordinator.
Thanks. Network. Anyone I missed off?
Antonia Sobira, Committee Services Officer.
Uh-huh.
And Bernard.
Ed Whittle, I'm the Acting Development and Building Standards Manager. We also have Julie Seidel here, who's the Case Officer presenting the application.
Good.
Thank you.
Else
Convener,
that I missed off the list?
Thank you. It's Ian Henderson, Legal Services Manager.
Okay. From the applicant.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, Convener. My name's Kevin Thorne. I'm the Head of Engineering at Pyrmont Pharma Solutions in Grangemouth.
Okay, thanks for that. And what about Albert?
Excuse me a second. The gentleman, Albert Muckley, who was joining us, has just given me a phone, so I'll just go on mute for a second. My apologies.
Is Albert here?
I think he's trying to dial in. Oh, hang on. He's phoning again. Please excuse me. Hello, Albert.
Mr. Tom, would you like a couple of minutes recess to sort things out between yourself and your colleague?
No, I'm quite happy. It appears that unfortunately Albert never received a meeting invitation, so I've just forwarded the meeting invitation on to him, so he will join us shortly. Please proceed.
Okay. Okay. I'll ask Ian Henderson, who's a legal advisor, to outline the procedures. It's a quasi-legal quasi-legal quick committee this. So we'll ask the lawyer to give the details.
Thank you, Convener, and I believe my colleague Brian Perry is able to share screen with some slides that would hopefully make the procedures a little bit more interesting. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Brian. Are you able to get to the beginning of the presentation? As Brian's doing that, I think it's probably worth just reminding everyone present that this isn't a meeting at which a decision is taken by the planning committee. The purpose of a predetermination hearing in applications of this nature is, and I will quote the Scottish Government guidance, is to allow the views of applicants and those who have submitted representations to be heard before a planning decision is taken. So no decision is taken tonight, but this is an opportunity for parties to be heard. And thanks, Brian. Brian, we could actually start from that slide. The previous slide notes the convener welcoming parties to the meeting, which he has already done.
Are you seeing that okay on the screen? Can I just check?
I could see it for a moment, Brian.
This way.
Right, let me stop. I'll stop sharing and I'll start again just to make sure it's going okay.
Thanks. Apologies for the technical glitches.
Technical, yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Hopefully that will stick and we can also... Oh.
Okay.
Hopefully that one will stick. Yes, so we have an agreed procedure for meetings of this nature, and I see we've moved on to the next slide. But anyway, the slide that was just there was that the first stage is for the convener to ask the planning officer to present the report relative to the planning proposal, and it should be noted that that report, and I think Julie will cover this, does not have a recommendation by officers. It's an open report and a factual one. Following that stage, Brian, if you could move on to the next slide, please. The convener will invite the applicant firstly to speak in relation to the application, and the applicant would be entitled to speak for 10 minutes. Following that, any statutory consultees will then be invited to speak, and they would each be allowed up to 5 minutes to speak. Brian, can you move on? Thank you. Following the applicant and the statutory consultees speaking, the members of the committee have an opportunity to ask questions of those parties, or indeed any of the planning officers, or me as the legal officer in attendance at the meeting. Brian, could you move on to the next slide, please? Following that questioning stage, if there are any parties who have submitted representations, and that would normally be objectors or supporters, they would be entitled to speak. I'm not entirely certain if we do have any parties that have submitted representations with us tonight, but we can establish that as we reach that point of the meeting. Thank you, Brian. Next slide. If there are parties that have submitted representations, they would be allowed 5 minutes to speak each, but it is within the gift of the convener to consider whether or not it would be beneficial for parties to group issues if there's likely to be repetition of points, in which case a group would be allowed 10 minutes to speak. Thanks, Brian. Next slide. Just reiterating the point I've just made, if it becomes apparent that there's repetition occurring during the meeting, the convener can look to address that and curtail a speech which is repeating matters already made before the committee. Thanks, Brian. Next slide. The applicant at that stage would be allowed a right of reply to any points raised. Even if we don't have any parties that have submitted representations, I would suggest that the applicant be allowed an opportunity to speak, as they may wish to reply to matters raised by statutory consultees, or indeed as part of questions by members. Again, at that point, members will have an opportunity to ask any party at the meeting any questions they would like to raise. And that leads us on to the next slide, Brian. As one of the last parts of the meeting, the members of the committee may identify any planning issues they would like to see covered in the officer's report when the matter is brought back before planning committee. And at that stage, once that's concluded, the convener would bring the meeting to a close. There are some points on the following slides, Brian, if you're able to flick through. This is an important point. This isn't a meeting which would involve cross-examination of any parties, so it's important that all remarks are directed via the convener of the meeting. Next slide, Brian. This is a procedural point that if anyone who's said they would like to attend fails to attend, the committee may still proceed with the meeting from the point of the start of the meeting at 6 p.m. Thanks, Brian. Next slide. And a note that the convener is responsible for ensuring that the hearing's conducted efficiently and that, as always, having due regard to the principles of natural justice. And I think that's all the slides, Brian, so you can stop sharing at that stage. Thank you, convener.
Okay, thank you, Ian. It was back up to what they were. Can I ask the planning officer, in this case, to present the case?
Thank you, convener. Can everyone hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you very much. I only intend to offer a brief summary of the proposals and material planning considerations. As Ian's outlined, the purpose of this evening's predetermination hearing is to review the proposed development and allow opinion to be voiced to help inform any final report with a recommendation to council. The application is still being considered at this stage, and the purpose of this meeting is to contribute to the assessment process. Therefore, there will be no detailed analysis of the proposed development beyond matters of fact at this stage, and no weight is being attributed to any material planning consideration. Any points raised tonight will add to the consideration of the application. Can we display the location plan for the development, please, Bernard? Thank you very much. This application relates to the development of plots 5 and 6 of Earlsgate Business Park. The site covers 1.92 hectares of land, and the application site is surrounded by established and under construction business and industry development. Can we have a look at the proposed site plan now, please? This application seeks planning permission for the erection of a Class 5 manufacturing facility with an ancillary Class 4 office. The applicant manufactures pharmaceutical products for the treatment of various cancers and life-limiting conditions. The applicant currently operates in the United States of America and the UK, and they've been working in Grangemouth since 2004. The application would include 4 manufacturing suites, laboratory support, warehousing and office accommodation over 3 stories. Total occupancy of the building is stated as being 160 members of staff. The development would operate 24 hours a day, Monday to Thursday, with a 6:30 finish on Fridays. And access would be taking off the existing road network, which can be seen on this plan here, from the A905 Bean Cross Road onto Caledon Green and Roseland Hall. Can we have a look at the proposed elevations now, please? The application is supported by a raft of supporting documents, which includes an environmental impact assessment, transport assessment, flood risk assessment, drainage strategy, a landscape plan, and a pre-application consultation report. To date, no third-party representations have been received on the application. We have, however, received some recent contact from Grangemouth Community Council. They advised that they met with the applicant in November of last year, and they were able to put various questions to the applicant, and on the basis of the responses that they received, the Community Council take a position of no objection to the application. They have, however, highlighted 2 potential issues of concern in relation to the construction phase of development, and this is based on the experience which they state is arising from the adjacent Earlsgate Energy project. They would like to see control on the duration and timing of any piling activities, although they know that these are likely to be much less than the adjacent project. And they would also like consideration given to the provision of construction workers parking. These comments have been passed to the applicant. Bernard, can we have a look at some photographs of the site, please? Thank you. The consultation responses are summarised in section 4 of the predetermination hearing report. You'll note that most of the consultation responses raise no issues in principle. The main consultation of note would be the Health and Safety Executive, who advise against the development on safety grounds. The Falkirk Local Development Plan 2 policies of relevance to the proposed development are referenced in section 7 of the predetermination hearing report. And in terms of other material planning considerations, these include Scottish planning policy, the National Planning Framework, and supplementary guidance notes are considered to be of relevance. In terms of a final recommendation, there will be an opportunity to provide a report to a subsequent meeting of the Council following full consideration of the matters discussed this evening. Thank you, Convener.
Okay, thank you. I think we have the application laid out from a potential perspective. Can I ask the applicant to present this case?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Convener. Thank you all for allowing me to speak this evening. As I say, my name is Kevin Thorne. I'm the Head of Engineering at Primwell Pharma Solutions in Grangemouth. I'm leading the expansion project from our local viewpoint. Our present facility occupies 5 buildings on the Callacare Earls Road site. We have currently in between 140 and 170 personnel occupying those buildings. Our main building is consisting of the manufacturing area and also of the office facility. As you've already heard, we are producing oncology fighting drugs. Basically, we manufacture drugs which literally cure people. Primarily, we concentrate those drugs in 2 areas at the moment, one non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and we've just been part of a development process which will start to look at head and brain cancers in the coming years. Unfortunately, the present facility that we have, our manufacturing facilities are quite limited. We have 1 commercial drug at the moment, and it doesn't sound a lot, but it's only produces 500 grams per week. However, it is a commercial drug substance that goes around the world and does cure the cancers it is aimed to treat. Our clients have come to us on a number of occasions and asked if it's possible to upscale manufacture, to go to larger scale, primarily up to the 3 kilogram scale. In our present facility, that is just not possible. We have looked at other facilities out with the Falkirk area. Unfortunately, those facilities were either too expensive to modernize to bring up to the pharmaceutical manufacturing standards that we require, or there was a risk that we would lose some of our key resource just because the locations were further away from their normal homes and they would have further to travel. The site as it is at the moment, which is literally just 300 yards approximately from where I'm sitting at the moment, offers a number of advantages, not just from retaining the staff I've already mentioned, but also in terms of the regulatory requirements of the drug manufacturer, whereby the development of the drug and the manufacture of the drug is ideally located at the same location. To put it quite simply, we are looking to, as you've heard, build a facility, increase our resource by approximately 70 when the facility is fully developed. The facility itself will initially be built, well, it will be built in 3 phases. Phase 1 will be the construction of a 2-suite manufacturing area, plus labs, plus supporting areas such as warehousing. Phase 2 will be the addition of 2 further manufacturing suites, which we see in the next 3 to 5 years. And phase 3 will be the introduction of a new manufacturing process for us, which is known as fill finish, which is putting the drug substance into a vial, which will then be allowed to be injected into the patient. As I said, the application as it stands at the moment covers all 3 phases. We see this application basically in 3-phase development, really running between now and the next 10 years. From the local area perspective, the resource numbers on site will increase by approximately 70. As has been already covered, we expect there to be around about 140 people in the new development, but the site overall will increase to around about 210 personnel. In addition to that, we will be supporting local area employment through the likes of other facilities, other contractors, which may look after us in terms of landscaping, cleaning, and whatever. I'm going to ask if it would be possible to show a small film which is linked into the presentation that I had provided, which basically shows a drug substance that we are leading with a Japanese company at the moment. It demonstrates exactly what we do. It demonstrates how the drug substance works, and it quite simply demonstrates that I don't think people really in the local area know that they have a company who is leading or at the forefront of oncology research and also oncology medicine within the Falkirk area. Antonia, I believe you have my presentation, and there's a link provided in it.
Tonya?
That's okay again, convener, so apologies. I understood that it was the applicant who was going to show the video, so just
Then I apologise. I shall try and do that.
No, I can try. It didn't go well the last time, so.
All right. I would say to the committee that really the first 8 minutes is all I wish to show of this video. I realise that takes me over my allotted time. If you have any objections, then I'd be quite happy to forward you the link that you can watch in your own time. Mr. Covino, I'm just asking if that would be possible to show the video. If not, like I say, I will forward it on to you.
I think members would be delighted to hear and to see the video for themselves, given your earlier comments.
Okay, is this the link here? Is this the correct one?
It is. It is. Like I say, we'll just show the first 8 minutes. The video is about half an hour long, so by all means, watch it again at your own time.
No sound.
No, we should have sound at my end. That's strange.
Brian, it's Ian. I was just wondering if that was showing within Citrix, if that may be causing a compatibility issue.
Maybe. Can I well, if you allow me, by all means, go back and review the link at any time you wish. What it does show, if I can describe it, as I said, we're a contract manufacturing organisation. We've been at our present facility since 2004. We are a world leader in the manufacture of oncology drugs. We've produced more than anybody else in the worldwide market. We fight cancers such as non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The video that you were going to see there is a collaboration that's been going on now for the last 3 years with a Japanese company called Rakuten. It is primarily a drug that we have developed which will fight head and neck cancer through the use of laser light. Just to give you a brief description of how the drug works, the drug consists of 3 main elements, which is the antibody, the linker, and the drug substance itself. In this particular drug type, when injected into the patient, the antibody will find the fastest growing cell, which is the cancer cell. It will attach itself to the cancer cell. Through the laser light, the link will then be broken, and the drug substance will immediately enter the cancer cell directly. Now, for this particular oncology drug, it is non-toxic. What it does, it literally, it basically invites water into the cancer cell, so much so that the cancer cell swells up and eventually explodes. So it's quite a key development in the immunotherapy. The market that we're in is known as antibody drug conjugates. They're primarily known as smart bombs for cancer. Unlike your chemotherapy treatment, which has an impact on the surrounding cells, the ADC drug substance will find the cancer cell directly and will kill the cancer cell either through the method I've just described or through supplying a toxic drug into the cancer cell itself to kill the cell directly. So you have no other contamination of surrounding cells. Like you say, we are a company that is at the forefront of this particular oncology market, and that's why we're requesting that we have the approval to build and expand on our existing facility. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, it's a great pity that the video wasn't available for one reason or another. But the link has been sent to everyone's email address.
I might also direct you to, in fact, if you give me the courtesy of just showing you one substance that is already commercially on the market that we produce for an American client, but is found worldwide. I can show you some pictures, and I think I'll be able to share. Let me see. There we go. This article, if you can see the 3 pictures from an article that came out in 2014. This gentleman is called Ian Brooks. As you can see on the left-hand picture, the before picture, unfortunately, he was suffering from Hodgkin lymphoma. He had in excess of 70 tumors in his body before the application of a drug substance that we make here at Grangemouth. After his course of treatment, I'm pleased to say that he had total remission, and as far as I'm aware, he is still in total remission to this day. So again, just to emphasize the drugs we make, they are cures for people with cancer, and the new facility will allow us to not only expand our manufacturing capability for these drugs, but also our development capability as well. Thank you.
As I say, it's a pity that the video is not available for one reason or another. But members will have it on their inbox, and but I would certainly urge everyone to have a look at that before it comes back to committee on the next meeting in June. Yeah. Can I ask if there are any members of the statutory organisations present? Okay, the other statutory consultees are internal to Falkirk Council. Do you have anything to add? At this point, we would normally invite objectors or supporters. Yeah, but there's none are registered. The questions from members directed to the company. For Blackwood.
Thank you. It's actually, a question to the company. It's the consultees, health and safety executive, have objected to the application on safety grounds, but there's no other information on that. I'm just wondering what's their objection?
The objection was around the capacity of the building. So The HSE have a guideline whereby, because we're inside the COMA Tier 1 inner zone, which is primarily driven by our present site landlord, Calichem, once the occupancy of a building goes above the 100 number, I believe, unfortunately, that triggers a objection from the HSE. So the objection is really around the number of people that will eventually be occupying the building. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the building, i.e. the manufacturing, the labs, be they testing and development, the warehouse and other supporting areas, the occupancy of the final building, once it has been completed, will be around about 140 people.
Okay. That's all right, Councillor Blackwood.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where we stand with this, and how serious do we take this this objection?
Well, this is a part of the process of gathering information. And
Right, okay.
okay. Sorry. Julie?
Thank
Julie?
you. Thank you, convener. Yeah, as the applicant was explaining, this application site is actually within multiple hazardous consultation zones. The important one is the Calichem inner zone, whereby this advise against has been triggered. As the applicant rightly says, the number of personnel that would be in the building post-development triggers a higher sensitivity level that causes them concerns in terms of safety, but also the number of stories on the building has triggered this advise against. Now, the applicant, as they state, they have looked at other sites out with the area. We also did have some quite extensive discussion early on in the application to look at ways of taking these triggers out of the application by reducing the number of personnel or the number of occupied stories, but that's just not possible in terms of the operation of the facility that's being proposed here. So there'll be quite a robust assessment of the HSE objection in the report that comes back up to Planning Committee, and obviously the material considerations that would also be of relevance to that. Some members will be aware of other similar applications where there's been a minded to grant a particular proposal, and that involves a referral to Scottish ministers in terms of the HSE objection, and that would be the same procedure for this application if that was the decision that was taken. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that, Julie. The Councillor Bowes and then Councillor Neville.
Thanks, Julie. Just to maybe help when we get to the planning meeting, there's obviously other buildings in the area. Can we have a look at occupancy levels of them? Because it might give us a comparator as well. If that could possibly be added into the report, which should help. Well, would help me anyway to form an opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Neville, you have your hand up earlier on?
Yeah, thanks, convener. I will be quick. I had raised issues direct with officers prior to the meeting regarding the input of the community councils, because I was a bit concerned that community councils in general were being disenfranchised from submitting information in relation to applications like this. Now, I did hear Julie earlier on highlighting the fact that Grangemouth Community Council had been in touch with her, but there was nothing contained in the original report to say that comments had been made. So I'm pleased that they've done that. The other question is really for Kevin in relation to the application in general and the drugs that he's highlighted that his company produces. Are these cancer drugs, Kevin, readily available in Scotland?
I wouldn't say readily available. Unfortunately, they are seen as a last resort at the moment. The NHS has our drugs within the UK. Primarily, the NHS will go down the chemotherapy route and other substances, other drug substances before, unfortunately, arriving at our particular drug substance. The value of the drug substance itself is quite large. So to give you an idea, the 500 grams costs in the region of about £250,000.
Right.
And
So
said that,
it's basically cost prohibitive then, that's what you're saying?
It is. Having said that, the drug market again is developing. If you consider where we are with the gene therapy oncology at the moment, a 500-gram bag of a gene changed oncology substance will probably cost anywhere between half a million and £1 million. However, once you've been treated with that particular substance, your cancer will never come back. Your own body will fight that cancer if it ever appears again.
Right, so just going by what you've said there, Kevin, the majority, if not all of the drugs that you produce will be for export?
Primarily, I would say yes.
Okay, thanks for that.
No problem. Could I also reply to the gentleman earlier in terms of basically the zoning? What I would add is, if you take the present site in relation to the location of the hazard, which, as I said before, was a hazard that comes from the Calichem production site, the new facility is actually further away from where the hazard is stored. We will be moving around about 60 people out of the present building where we are currently manufacturing into the new building. So in some ways, although we remain within the inner zone or tier 1 zone, we are actually moving people further away from the hazard, just to give you that bit of background information.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor McCluskey?
Hi, thanks, convener. Could we get details or maps on the day showing us the different zones and areas and different things? Because I know that, you know, Westfield was inside another zone, you know, down there, and obviously that's got a number of floors, and there is, well, we used to have football supporters more than 100 down there, and the council's moving down there, so I hope we're not going to trigger over 100 there and no get done after spending £1 million. But just if I can get the kind of questions answered at the meeting, I would be delighted, convener.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Kerr?
Thanks, convener. It's a question for the applicant. Regarding, you had mentioned the build process will take up a number of years. If successful with your application, will each stage be dependent on the success of each stage, and how long will that full process take?
At the present moment, we already have 2 clients who are happy to align with us for the first stage. So for the 2 manufacturing areas, we've basically, we could sell that area out immediately. We've also been approached by other clients to start in conversation for use of the other manufacturing facilities. It really, I've given a time period there of, shall we say, 10 years for the full facility to be built. It may be actually within that time period, and the sequence, shall we say, may be slightly changed. Purmo at the moment has a fill finish facility in the US. It is keen to bring a fill finish facility here in Europe. One of our clients is a French client, and they are more than happy if we would have our own fill finish facility here within the Grangemouth site for their particular oncology drug. So to answer your question, having the first 2 manufacturing suites will not necessarily determine the construction of the second 2 or even the fill finish. It really will come around by market demand, and at the moment, that market demand is looking very good.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Councillor Hughes?
Thank you, convener. I mean, I don't really know much about the the procedures and the processes involved with high-tech laboratories. But can I ask a question in relation to laboratories? Modern high-tech laboratories, do they constitute any form of biohazard? And at the same time, have you built in safety procedures?
In terms of our substances, there are a number that are toxic, but the quantities we are talking about here, we are talking literally the grams. In terms of our biological release, our facilities are built as such that all our extracts, all our manufacturing and laboratory areas are filtered. So any substance that is released from the manufacturing process of the lab is filtered out before the air is taken out of the area. Our manufacturing systems as a whole are sealed. So the risk of release of any other substances is minimal. Also, the substances themselves, if they are released within the manufacturing environment, they will be instantly maintained and dealt with through the use of chemicals that we have on site, such as, in fact, caustic soda will actually basically eliminate a lot of the dangerous chemicals quite quickly, and we have basically that on site, and we can impact that any spills immediately. So the risk in that respect to the surrounding area has been mitigated against. We have, like you say, air management systems, and we also have chemicals on site should spills occur.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else? Speak out if you want to speak. You have a question to ask. At this point, I would normally ask the company or the applicant if they wish to answer any of the points that were raised above, but we've done those as we went. So is there any issue that members would wish to see come back to the next meeting of the planning committee with in terms of planning? The issue of Councillor McCluckie, I think it was, it raised as one that would note, the planners would take a note of and bring back the information he's sought. There was an earlier one as well. Councillor Bowes has raised if we could get the answers and points that he has raised answered, brought to the committee. Anyone else got anything that they wish to? Councillor Bowes and Councillor Blackwood.
Thanks, Convener. Can I just ask that also the stuff that the Grangemouth Community Council did ask about piling and construction parking are also brought back to the planning committee as well?
Might I was going to ask if I might reply to those earlier questions. As you rightly said, I met with the community council some time ago now to discuss basically, obviously the application that we were about to put forward, what I felt would be the benefits to the local community, and also how we might work with the local community to improve the environment in the area, and also, shall we say, even to a degree, our status as a company within the area. Going back to the questions of piling, first and foremost, I know because I've been in the area and I work in the area that there were issues around the piling in terms of the CHP plant, which is a joint venture with the Calichem, the site owner. We are using concrete-driven piles. The estimated time for the piling process will be 60 days. We have in our application already outlined the times in which we will operate the piling process. Being driven and being concrete precast, they are the lowest acoustic form of piling. The noise level we expect is considerably less than the piling that we've already witnessed in the area. We'd also agreed that we will measure the noise levels at predetermined points within the area to ensure that the noise levels are not exceeding given set parameters, and we will keep to a rigid timeline. I'd also say that I had agreed to speak again to the Community Council before we would start the piling process to provide them with a timescale and a schedule for the piling, and I would be more than happy to meet with them at any point should they have any complaints going forward that if our piling process, shall we say, went out with the agreed timescale. In terms of parking, which was raised earlier, we have a construction parking plan already generated. We've already made allowances on the site to allow contractor parking and construction personnel parking to be undertaken on the site directly. However, we understand that when certainly if we're granted permission, we come to the fit out stage of the building, the numbers of contractors and workmen will increase. There is a risk of overspill, we don't deny that. I've already been in contact with Calichem in terms of how we might mitigate any particular overspill in the areas. Now, there are two construction projects ongoing in the area at the moment, one by Calichem themselves, and one by a second company called Celtic Renewables. I believe Celtic will have their construction phase finished within the next 3 to 4 months, which will reduce the headcount there. And talking to Calichem, by the time we are ready to go into the fit-out stage of construction, it's believed that their construction numbers and their personnel numbers will fall as well. They already use one of the plots on site as a car park. I've already had agreement from Calichem that we would enter negotiations to, if the plot hasn't been sold to any other company, that we would look to lease that plot as additional overspill car parking area and take any parking requirements away from the local roads and the local area. If that wasn't possible at the time, we have already an existing car park in the complex. It's known as Car Park 3. It's not particularly well used at the present moment. And again, I've had that conversation with Calichem where we will use that as potentially an overspill car park for our personnel and contractors when the construction process is underway.
Yeah, thanks for that. Councillor McLuckie.
Hi, Convener. It's just that when we've got Pete Reid here tonight, I was just wondering if Pete's anything to add in case we maybe need some further information to preempt him at the planning meeting. So it was just if Pete's got some initial speech for us, it would maybe give us a kind of insight into the development and the job potentials, etc. Thank you.
Pete.
I'm afraid I've not prepared an initial speech, Councillor McLuckie, but I think I would just confirm from an economic development point of view that this very much accords with our growth and economic strategy for the area. I've liaised at the outset with Kevin on this project, specifically made requests direct with their consultants, Ironside Farrer. Albert's with us tonight. To ensure that there was a specific engagement with Grangemouth Community Council, because it is important that such investment decisions are consulted with the Community Council. So I'm very pleased to hear at what that consultation took place. And I also spoke with Grangemouth Community Council as well in advance of the consultation to say that the company would be approaching them. And I think it's great to hear that the company will also be approaching Grangemouth Community Council through the construction phase. I think as well, it's just the opportunities for jobs as well. Whilst I don't particularly want to get into the detail of that tonight, because this is a predetermination hearing, it is very much fitting with our overall objectives for economic growth in the area, and one that we would continue to look forward to working with the company and, for example, Forth Valley College and academia going forward as we look to work with the company in the future. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate your comments with regards to the positive outlook in relation to the relationship with the local community council. They are a very, very dedicated group of individuals who have a good record of common sense approaches to the issues that Greensmith has. So I'm certainly welcome the commitment that's been given tonight for that continued consultation. Anyone else? Okay, can I thank everyone for their attendance this afternoon. Excuse me, choked with a cold. Thank you for the attendance tonight and the efforts that have gone into this from officers as well as the company themselves. Look forward to coming back to the meeting of June 16th. When this will come back to this committee. Okay, thanks very much for your attendance, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your contribution.
Thanks to the chair.
Thanks,
Thank you,
convener.
convener.
Thanks, convener.
Thank you.
Thank you.